I saw your secret. Janitor exposes CEO's blackmail scheme. The Chicago skyline glittered like a jagged crown beyond the glass walls of Horizon Innovation's 40th floor executive suite, a monument to ambition carved from steel and dreams. At 2 a.m., Jamal Carter, 32, maneuvered his cleaning cart through the silent corridors, the hum of fluorescent lights his only companion. His sneakers, frayed from years of night shifts, squeaked on the polished marble. A single father, Jamal juggled 2 jobs, janitor here, community center aide by day, to keep his daughter, Aisha, in a magnet school on the north side. His dark eyes, sharp despite the bone-deep exhaustion, caught a crumpled note under CEO Nathan Caldwell's desk. Heart-pounding, he knelt, the paper crackling as he unfolded it. Pay $5 million, or the board of directors will see these files. The ink was smudged, scrawled in haste, a threat pulsing in every letter. Jamal's chest tightened, his breath shallow. Rich folks' drama, he muttered, his voice barely audible over the hum of the HVAC. But Aisha's voice echoed in his mind. Do right, Dad, even when it's hard. He shoved the note into his pocket, its weight heavier than paper, but ticking bomb he didn't ask for. Nathan, 45, was Horizon's untouchable king. White, Yale-educated, a tech mogul whose TED Talks on disruptive innovation drew millions of views. But Jamal had seen him lately, pacing his office at odd hours, face gaunt, eyes haunted by something unspoken. Whispers of a failing marriage and a corporate scandal trailed him like cigarette smoke, curling through the office grapevine. At home, in their cramped Englewood apartment, Aisha, 16, greeted Jamal with a sleepy yawn, her laptop glowing with lines of code. Another late night, Dad, she teased, her braids swinging as she stretched. A coding prodigy with dreams of MIT, her optimism was a balm for Jamal's weary soul. You okay? She asked, her brown eyes catching the tension in his jaw. Just tired, he lied, the note burning a hole in his jacket pocket. Across town, Claire Hensley, 38, Nathan's vice president, sat in her Gold Coast penthouse, her blue eyes scanning emails with predatory focus. She'd spotted Jamal lingering near Nathan's office, his presence jarring her carefully ordered world. Janitors don't belong up there, she told a colleague over the phone, her voice sharp with disdain, laced with an unspoken assumption about his place in her hierarchy. In a modest Chatham flat, Evelyn Brooks, 70, sipped chamomile tea, her hands trembling from age and memory. Once an administrative assistant at Horizon's predecessor company, she'd buried secrets from its gritty, cutthroat beginnings. Jamal knew her from the community center, her stories of silenced whistleblowing haunting him like ghosts. Some truths cost too much, she'd said once, her eyes distant, staring through him to a past she couldn't outrun. Tonight, as Jamal rode the rattling CTA bus home, the note felt like a grenade, its pin half pulled, threatening to upend his quiet life. What's in your hand, Carter? Claire's voice sliced through the silence the next night, her heels clicking like a metronome on the marble. Jamal froze, clutching the note, his pulse hammering. Just trash, he said, his voice steady but his palms sweating. Her smirk said she didn't believe him, her eyes narrowing as if she could see the secret in his grip. Jamal's pulse thundered as he slipped into Nathan's office after hours, the city's lights casting long, jagged shadows across the desk. His night classes in cybersecurity, paid for with scraped-together savings, gave him just enough skill to bypass Nathan's laughably weak laptop password, Horizon 2020. Amateur for a tech CEO. Files labeled Project Orion flashed across the screen. Encrypted data on millions of users, harvested without consent. Names, addresses, private messages. "This ain't right," Jamal whispered, his breath fogging the screen as he copied a sample to a USB drive. The note's threat clicked into place. Someone had leverage to bring Nathan and Horizon crashing down. The next morning, Jamal ambushed Nathan in the dim parking garage, the note trembling in his hand like a live wire. "We gotta talk," he said, his voice steady despite the knot in his stomach. Nathan's face drained of color, his tailored suit suddenly ill-fitting on his tense frame. "Where'd you get that?" he demanded, glancing at the concrete walls as if they might betray him. "Your desk," Jamal said, holding his gaze. "I know about Orion." Nathan's jaw tightened, his eyes flickering with panic. "What's your price? 10 grand? 20? He asked, his voice low, almost pleading. Jamal's anger flared, hot and sharp. "I ain't for sale, man. You gotta stop this before it hurts people." Claire, lurking near her sleek Tesla, stormed over, her heels echoing like gunshots. "What's going on, Nathan? He's shaking you down?" Her voice was venom, her blue eyes raking Jamal like he was dirt on her shoe. "I'm trying to help," Jamal said, his fists clenching. But Claire laughed, cold and coving. "Help? You're a janitor. Know your place." The words landed like a slap, echoing years of being dismissed. Black, working class, invisible, unless he was a problem. Nathan raised a hand, his voice sharp. "Enough, Claire. Back off." But her words lingered, a wound Jamal couldn't shake. At home, Aisha saw the storm in his eyes. "Spill, Dad," she said, closing her laptop with a soft click. He sighed, pulling out the note. "Found this. It's big." Her eyes widened as he explained, her fingers twitching like she was already coding a solution. "We can fix this," she said, her voice fierce with determination. She handed him a USB stick with a decryption tool she'd coded in her spare time. "You're too smart for me, kid," Jamal said, pulling her into a hug, his fear easing under her warmth. At the community center, Evelyn overheard him muttering about Orion. "Old contracts," she murmured, her voice heavy with memory. "Check the archives, Jamal. They hid bodies back then." Her words, weighted with decades of regret, lit a fire in his gut. The note, creased and ink-stained, sat on Jamal's chipped kitchen table, a fragile bridge between his world and Nathan's tower of secrets. Jamal met Nathan in a South Side diner, the air thick with grease and tension. The crumpled note lay between them on the sticky table, a silent accusation. "I don't trust you," Nathan said, his voice low, his tie loosened like a man unraveling. His eyes, bloodshot from sleepless nights, darted to the note. "But I'm drowning here. Someone's got me by the throat." He slid a keycard across the table, access to Horizon's digital archives. "Find the blackmailer. You're in or you're out." Jamal's stomach churned, his calloused hands gripping the card. "I'm doing this for the people you screwed over, not you," he said, his voice hard, the weight of Aisha's future pressing on him. Back home, Aisha sat cross-legged on their sagging couch, her laptop balanced on her knees. Her fingers flew across the keys, tracing Spectre's email headers. "They're a hacker group," she said, her voice tight with excitement and fear. "Pros, Dad. Ghosts. Be careful." Her brown eyes, so like her mother's, held a spark of defiance. Jamal nodded, his throat tight. "Always, kid." He spent nights in Horizon's basement archives, the air thick with dust and secrets. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting shadows on yellowed files. Evelyn's tip led him to a 1990s contract, its pages brittle, detailing Horizon's founders, Nathan's mentor, Richard Voss, among them, exploiting low-income communities for data trials. Payments to silence complaints were buried in fine print, Evelyn's signature scratched out like a scar. "This is Orion's seed," Jamal muttered, his anger a slow burn in his chest. He snapped a photo, his hands shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of truth. Claire's sabotage began like a snake in the grass. She leaked whispers to board members, her emails laced with innuendo. "Carter's snooping," she told a director over martinis at a rooftop bar, her smile sharp as glass. "Unstable, probably desperate for cash." Nathan confronted her in his office, his voice taut as a wire. "You're crossing a line, Claire. He's trying to help." She shrugged, her blonde hair catching the light. "I'm protecting Horizon's image. Someone has to." Her doubts wormed into Nathan, who began watching Jamal with wary eyes, his trust fraying. Jamal felt the walls closing in, the city's pulse a constant reminder of his precarious place. Claire's private investigator tailed him, snapping photos at his community center job. A grainy shot of him helping kids with homework, twisted into suspicious behavior. He showed Aisha the photos, his voice cracking. "They're building a case, baby girl, trying to bury me." She hugged him, her grip fierce, her voice steady. "We don't fold, Dad. We fight smart." Her words were a lifeline, pulling him back from despair. Aisha hacked Claire's email that night, her fingers trembling with rage, uncovering a thread from 2022 where Claire flagged Orion's risks but buried it for a promotion. "She knew," Aisha said, her grin sharp as a blade. Jamal hesitated, his conscience wrestling. This could ruin her. Aisha's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. "She's trying to ruin you." Spectre escalated, leaking Orion snippets to tech blogs. Horizon's dirty secrets screamed headlines, each word a gut punch. Nathan's phone buzzed with board ultimatums. "Resign by Friday or we vote you out." He met Jamal in the archives, his face haggard, his suit rumpled. "I ignored Orion's ethics," he admitted, his voice raw, cracking on the edges. "Thought I was above it all." Jamal paused, his own truth spilling out like blood. "I've been invisible my whole life. Black, broke, nobody cares unless I'm a threat." Nathan looked away, guilt etching lines deeper into his face. "I see you now," he said softly, almost to himself. Evelyn, frail but steely, met Jamal at the community center, her hands clutching a faded contract. "I blew the whistle in '98, she said, her voice trembling with old pain. "They threatened my family, my son. Don't let them silence you, Jamal." Her eyes, cloudy with age, burned with purpose. Her pain fueled him, a fire in his chest. He traced Spectre's digital crumbs, finding their server in a Chicago warehouse. Aisha, risking her school record, pinpointed the leader's IP address from her bedroom, her desk littered with energy drink cans. "Got him," she texted, her courage a mirror of Jamal's own. Claire's investigator cornered Jamal at the community center, his breath reeking of cheap coffee. "Drop this, or we report you for stealing company data," he growled, flashing photos of Jamal's USB drive. Jamal's heart sank, Aisha's MIT dreams flashing before him like a fading star. But Nathan, shaken by Aisha's email find, began to trust Jamal. They met in a deserted park, the wind biting. "You're risking everything," Nathan said, his voice low, almost awed. Jamal shrugged, his breath visible in the cold. Somebody's gotta do it. Spectre's final demand hit Nathan's inbox. Pay $5 million by Friday, or Orion goes viral. The board meeting was 48 hours away. Nathan's marriage collapsed under the strain, his wife leaving a note of her own. "I can't live with your lies." He showed it to Jamal in the diner, his voice breaking like thin ice. "I've lost everything." Jamal, thinking of Aisha's bright eyes, said softly, "Not everything, not yet." Their bond, fragile as the note in Jamal's pocket, grew in that quiet moment. Aisha faced her own storm. Her school threatened suspension for unauthorized coding projects. Evelyn, hearing this, sat her down at the center. "They'll always try to clip your wings, child," she said, her voice steady. "Fly anyway." Aisha's resolve hardened, her fingers itching for her keyboard. Jamal's nights blur into a haze of archives, code, and fear. He found a hidden Orion file. Voss had bribed regulators to greenlight the project in '96. Signatures scrawled like confessions. "This could sink them," he told Nathan in a midnight call, his voice hoarse. Nathan's reply was grim. "Or save us." But Claire's whispers reached the press, framing Jamal as a disgruntled employee out for revenge. "He's a liar," she told a reporter at a gala. Her prejudice bared like a blade. Jamal's second job fired him, citing suspicion of misconduct. Aisha, furious, slammed her fist on their kitchen table. "We'll prove them wrong, Dad. We always do." Her faith was a beacon, keeping him upright. The city itself seemed to press against Jamal, its skyscrapers looming like judges. He walked past murals of Chicago's heroes, Jordan, Obama, feeling their eyes on him. At the community center, he helped kids debug their first apps, their laughter a fleeting escape. But the investigators' photos haunted him, each one a threat to Aisha's future. Nathan, meanwhile, faced his own ghosts, board members circling, his legacy crumbling. "I built this company," he told Jamal in the archives, his voice hollow. "Now it's eating me alive." Jamal nodded, his own fears mirrored. World's got a way of doing that. Jamal worked through Thursday night, his eyes burning as he decrypted Spectre's full Orion files in his dimly lit apartment. The data was a digital landmine. Names, emails, medical records, all stolen. "They're selling it to a Chinese firm," he told Nathan at dawn, his laptop screen casting a harsh glow on his face. He slid the USB across Nathan's desk, the evidence heavy as the note in his pocket. "Go public now, or they own you." Nathan froze, his hands trembling, his wedding ring glinting, a reminder of what he'd already lost. "That'll tank Horizon, my legacy, my life." Jamal leaned forward, his voice fierce, cutting through the silence. "Lies ain't a legacy. Truth is. You want to be remembered as a fraud or a man who owned his mistakes?" Aisha, risking expulsion, traced Spectre's leader to a derelict warehouse in Rogers Park, her fingers shaking as she typed. "Got an address," she texted Jamal, her heart pounding with the thrill of defiance. She'd skipped school, her backpack stuffed with snacks and her laptop, knowing the stakes. Jamal called her, his voice thick. "You're my hero, kid." She laughed, but her voice wavered. "Just following your lead, Dad." The board meeting, live streamed from Horizon's glass-walled conference room, was a pressure cooker. Suits packed the seats, their whispers sharp as knives. Cameras rolled, their red lights unblinking. Nathan took the stage, sweat beading on his brow, his suit rumpled like his resolve. "I've failed you," he began, his voice cracking, each word a confession. Project Orion was unethical. We harvested data from millions without consent. Names, lives, trust. Gasps rippled through the room. A wave of shock and outrage. Jamal Carter, a janitor, uncovered this. He saved Horizon. Jamal, standing in the back, felt every eye on him. Shock, scorn, curiosity, all boring into him like drills. Claire stood abruptly, her face ashen, and stormed out, her heels echoing like a retreating army. Aisha, watching the live stream on her phone in a school bathroom, whispered, "That's my dad." Tears stung her eyes, pride and fear tangled in her chest. Evelyn, invited by Jamal, rose shakily from her seat, her gray curls catching the harsh light. "I tried to stop this in '98, she said, her voice slicing through the chaos, raw and unyielding. "They silenced me, threatened my son. Jamal didn't quit." Her pain, decades old, hushed the room. Her words a mirror to Horizon's sins. Aisha's email leak hit Claire's inbox, forwarded to the board by a junior analyst, a young woman horrified by Claire's duplicity. Claire, cornered in the hallway, admitted her silence, her voice breaking like glass. "I was protecting Horizon," she said, her ambition crumbling under the weight of truth. The board suspended her on the spot, their vote unanimous. Jamal confronted Spectre's leader via a burner phone, using Aisha's trace as leverage. "I've got your server logs," he bluffed, his voice steady despite the sweat on his palms. "Back off, or the feds get them." Spectre went silent, their leader arrested hours later by Chicago PD, tipped off by Jamal's meticulously gathered evidence. Nathan's confession sparked a media frenzy. Horizon's CEO admits data scandal, screamed headlines. But his raw honesty won cautious praise from users on X, their posts trending by midnight. Jamal met Nathan's eyes across the conference room, a nod passing between them. Silent, heavy, a bond forged in fire. Claire faced the press outside, cameras flashing like vultures circling. "I made mistakes," she said, her composure cracking, her voice barely audible over the shouts. Jamal watched from the lobby, the crumpled note still in his pocket. He didn't gloat. Her fall was punishment enough. Evelyn hugged him, her frail arms strong with gratitude. "You did what I couldn't," she whispered, her voice thick with tears. Aisha, sneaking out of school, ran to Jamal in the parking lot, her hug fierce, her backpack bouncing. "We won, Dad," she said, her voice muffled against his jacket. He held her tight, his heart too full for words. Horizon's stock plummeted, a freefall that dominated financial news for weeks. But Nathan's transparency rallied loyal users, their posts on X calling him flawed but real. He offered Jamal a cybersecurity consultant role, handing him a contract in his office. The city's skyline, a silent witness. "You earned this, Carter," Nathan said, his voice warm, his eyes lighter than Jamal had ever seen. Jamal grinned, picturing Aisha's college fund growing. "I'm in," he said, signing with a steady hand. Aisha launched a coding club for Englewood teens, renting a storefront with donations from her school. Evelyn spoke at the opening, her voice strong despite her cane. "You're my mirror, girl," she told Aisha, her eyes shining with pride. "Keep shining." Claire left Horizon, her career in tatters, her penthouse listed for sale. She sent Jamal a handwritten letter. "I misjudged you. I'm sorry." He kept it, folded beside the note, A reminder that even stone can crack. She's trying, he told Aisha, who shrugged, her focus on her club. Better late than never, I guess. Evelyn's story went viral, trending on X with hashtags like #TechTruth. Protests erupted outside tech HQs, demanding accountability. Her contract, framed in Horizon's remodeled lobby, became a symbol of reckoning, its glass catching the morning sun. Nathan, now divorced, mentored Aisha's club, his laugh freer than before. "You're tougher than me, kid," he told her, ruffling her hair. She smirked, her eyes bright. "Learn from Dad." Jamal and Nathan's bond grew over coffee breaks in a corner diner, their talks raw and unfiltered. "I thought power was everything," Nathan said one evening, staring into his black coffee, the steam curling like a ghost. "You showed me it's nothing without trust." Jamal nodded, his voice low, his own cup untouched. "I just wanted to be seen, man. For once." Aisha's club thrived, her MIT acceptance letter arriving in a crisp envelope. She framed it beside Evelyn's contract, the two documents a testament to their fight. "We're unstoppable," she told Jamal, her hug fierce, her voice cracking with joy. He laughed, tears prickling his eyes, his heart too big for his chest. The board approved Nathan's reforms. Data audits, user payouts, a public apology tour. Spectre's remnants sued, but their case collapsed, gutted by Jamal's evidence, now public record. Evelyn, frail but vibrant, spoke at a tech ethics panel in a downtown auditorium, her voice steady as steel. "Truth costs, but it frees," she said. Jamal and Aisha in the front row, clapping until their hands ached. Claire's letter arrived, funding a second scholarship for Aisha's club, anonymously. "She's out there changing," Aisha said, her voice surprised but soft. Jamal nodded, the note still in his desk drawer, a relic of their battle, its ink faded, but its power undimmed. Nathan began mentoring young entrepreneurs citywide, his polished TED Talk persona replaced by a quieter, humbler man. He met Jamal and Aisha at the community center, his sleeves rolled up, helping kids debug code. "This feels better than any boardroom," he told Jamal, his smile genuine. Jamal nodded, his own pride swelling. "It's real work." The city began to shift. Tech startups faced new scrutiny, their CEOs grilled on X. Jamal walked past a mural of Fred Hampton, feeling the weight of history, knowing he'd added his own mark. A year later, Horizon's lobby buzzed with new energy, its glass walls reflecting a city in flux. Jamal, 33, wore a tailored blazer, his old sneakers retired. He walked Aisha past Evelyn's framed contract, its glass glinting in the morning sun. "This is why we fight," he said, his voice thick with memory, his hand resting on her shoulder. Aisha, 17, MIT bound, nodded. Her coding club now. Nathan joined them, his suit jacket gone, his eyes lighter than Jamal had ever seen. "Evelyn's scholarship launches today," he said, his voice warm, his hand gesturing to a plaque honoring her. Her idea, her legacy. Evelyn, 82, spoke at the ceremony in Horizon's auditorium, her cane steady, her voice stronger than her frame. "Truth won," she said, her gaze sweeping the crowd, landing on Jamal and Aisha. Aisha cheered loudest, her notebook stuffed with code and dreams. Her eyes wet with pride. Claire's letter arrived, funding a second scholarship. Anonymously, "She's out there trying," Jamal told Nathan, who nodded. His own redemption, a work in progress, but real. The crumpled note, now in Jamal's desk drawer, was a quiet relic of their battle. Its ink faded, but its power undimmed. As they stepped outside, Chicago's skyline sparkled under a June sky, a city remade by their courage. Aisha linked arms with Jamal, Nathan trailing behind, their laughter echoing down Michigan Avenue. Evelyn watched from the steps, her smile a beacon of hope, her cane tapping a rhythm of victory. The note, once a secret threatening to destroy, now rested as a testament to Jamal's power to reshape a broken world, its creases a map of their triumph.